Good evening and many blessings to all you YouTubers. This is the Roaming Prepper. I've done a bunch of roaming today. I'll put those pictures on Instagram. I might throw a few on here. Uh, it was a beautiful day in Texas today, at least in our part of Texas. I got to go to a county fair and a really large gun show and knife show, which was a lot of fun, and ran into folks from Oklahoma, Louisiana, Texas, Colorado, uh, even a few strays from places like Jersey and Wyoming. And I'll tell you what, everybody is concerned across the political spectrum, and it's good. I know that sounds contradictory, but it's good that people are paying attention. Little story, backstory. In 2012, 2013, I can't remember when, I got to go to San Antonio to a energy conference. It was all the energy folks, and I was there with my clients. And we had the privilege of listening to former Defense Secretary Gates. He served under both Republican and Democratic offices. He was one of those old Cold War warriors from back in the days of, you know, uh, back in the days of Howard Hughes. He's an old fellow. I think he passed away, actually. I may be wrong. Back then, he gave a couple of warnings. He said, one, President Obama had just gotten elected maybe a couple of years, so it must have been about 2012 ish. Uh, and he said, we need to be firm with Putin. He is a cold blooded killer. He is a KGB man. And he has shed blood of his own. Um, and he will do anything he can to restore Russian power, restore Russian status in the world. Uh, that being said, he said China does not find war beneficial, but they look in terms of 100 years, not the next election cycle. And their goal, they'll be our partner until they become a competitor. And they may be a problem. He said he couldn't put a finger on them yet, but that's what he thought. Here we are in 2021. It's been a hot minute since I saw that gentleman. And what we're seeing now is a lot of instability, both domestically and internationally. And it's it's complicated, as you all are probably surmising at this juncture. So right now, China has sent roughly 300. Somebody in CBS said it's militia ships. It's not militia ships. It's basically a fishing fleet in force, basically taking over entire fisheries that are also shared by Taiwan, the Philippines, ironically Vietnam, who is their ally in the Vietnam War, and Japan. And there's so many ships now that they're disrupting shipping. Now the you add to that the recent Suez blockage, and that's just going to screw up the economics of the world that's already struggling at the moment. There's rioting in Belfast, Ireland. I just saw a video of someone throwing a Molotov into a double-decker bus, and then the people are running out. I don't know what prompted that riot. Uh, we're a bit quiet here in the States for now. The UK and Ireland are having a big kerfuffle. I don't know what that's about. Uh, Germany, Italy, they're rioting because of shutdowns that they think are excessive. So a lot of the Western world has internal instability. At the same time, the Ukrainian prime minister or whatever ambassador has gone to Turkey for special meetings because Turkey and the Ukraine both share the Black Sea with Russia. When Russia took Crimea, they started pushing the other two around. And Turkey and the Ukraine are discussing how to handle that. Now, the reason this is significant is because Turkey is a NATO member. by treaty, if they get into it with the Russians, we're going to get dragged into it. And a lot of folks on the bigger channels have mentioned, hey, uh, it's going to start with something small and we're going to get dragged in. The same thing happened in World War I and in World War II. It could happen here. That's a hot spot. China is a hot spot, or the South China Sea. Now, India and Pakistan have seemed to have calmed down for the time being, but India has had it out with the Chinese. They have a zone where soldiers can patrol, but without guns. And about this time last year, they got into literally a fist fight where they killed about 8 people in total between the two sides. They basically beat each other to death with rocks and sticks like the Stone Age. It was absolutely crazy. Um, the Chinese have been pushing the limits around them. The Russians have been doing the same. Now I'm going to take you back to World War II. Germany decided that the Rhineland, which was essentially the DMZ between Germany and France, but after World War One, belonged to them, and they just took it, and nobody did anything, and it emboldened Hitler and his people, or his leaders. So they subsequently, when President Bismarck passed away, Hitler, who was the chancellor, then consolidated power, ironically killing the brown shirts that had rioted for years in his behalf. Pay attention, Antifa, because if something goes south, you're going to get taken out right after all the Second Amendment folks. And then he went after part of Austria, and then he went after all of Austria, and then he went into Poland, and we all know what happened then. These two countries are pushing their limits. Now, Putin's in a bit of a bind. I'm not a person who voted for Joe Biden, but I do understand he's an old statesman. He kind of gets the big picture. And he's been poking at Putin. It's pissing him off. So he's kind of in a corner. He's got the NATO kind of encroaching. We've just made alliances with Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia, which are all on the border of Belarus, which is the only country between Russia and NATO. They're not liking that. We're friends with Turkey. They don't like that. We're friends with the Ukraine. They don't like that. They're creating instabilities in the hopes of getting a little more land over and over to push their way through. My fear is we now have extra ships in the Black Sea that just went through the Turkish Straits. We have carrier groups in the Pacific. We've got a lot of combat units interacting in very close proximity to Russia, to China, and even in Syria. We've accidentally bombed each other. The Turks shot down a Russian fighter bomber a couple of years ago because they impinged on Turkish airspace. There's a lot going on. So none of us can do anything about that unless you're a politician or a really rich person and knows people. So what do? As everyone else has said, all the bigger channels, I think Jason at the Angry Prepper, he put it very well, continue to prep, pay attention. I'll say the same thing. What I will say is food, medical supplies. If you are a person who favors imported firearms, before this administration limits them, grab what you can. When I went to the gun show, the gun prices were down because the ammo prices were so damn high, nobody was moving firearms, which was kind of comical. I saw independent gun shops were competing price-wise with places like Academy, and they brought their prices that far down because they're trying to move product. Take advantage. If you have gaps, fill them. Something else, make some friends. I try to say at the end of my videos, help someone out, reach out to other people. I've run into so many like-minded people on both sides of the political spectrum. This is not a conservative or liberal thing. All of us should be prepared. If something goes down, everything's going to shut down. My dad was not a boomer. My dad was a Depression era kid. I heard firsthand stories about making soup out of grass in order to survive, about seeing supply ships burning off the coast of Puerto Rico. Uh, this can happen today. Be ready. The economy is still not stable. If you get laid off, you have food and supplies. If there's a natural disaster, you have food and supplies. There are certain common denominators that can be used in any emergency situation. Work on those first. That's within your sphere of influence. And then go from there. More importantly, ask questions, get on YouTube, do some homework, email some of these bigger channels, email me. Uh, my email address is on YouTube. Comment below. Anything we can do to help each other would be great. Um, and push your limits a little bit. Push your limits physically. Try to get in better shape. You don't want to be a physical liability to other people if something goes sideways. And more importantly, remember there's certain things you cannot control. What you can do is prepare for them, and that'll give you the peace of mind to not be stressed about it, because you can say to yourself, I can handle something happening for a week, a weekend, 3 days, a month. Okay, having been deployed for Harvey and a couple other events, I can tell you guard units take, depending on the disaster and the extent, they could take 96 hours, they could take 3 weeks. Be ready to at least get through that first few days of the panic until you can get some concrete news as to what's going on, and then go from there. It's been a long day. I'm kind of losing my voice. I'm sure this isn't helping, and I've had a bourbon already. So, you guys, as I put in my video for Easter, you got this. Small baby steps. Get ready. Be smart. Pay attention. Godspeed to all of you, especially those who are deployed, or those of you who have family who are deployed. That includes us. I've got a son downrange and another one who may be going. Y'all be safe. Take care of each other. Take care of yourself. Educate your community. We can weather storms like this, but take smart precautions now. Until next time, God bless. Y'all take care.